Welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls. Over the last few years, I have built a business that allowed me to quit my 9-to-5, spend more time with the ones that I love, and live my best life. Now, I'm sharing everything I learned along the way with you. Each week, my guest and I will share actionable tips, tangible advice, and honest conversations to help you build your dream business. So get ready to take notes and put in the work, because this girl means business. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the Girl Means Business podcast. I just love that y'all are tuning in every single week, and the feedback I'm getting is so amazing. Thank y'all so much to everyone that is listening, to everyone that has listened to these episodes. It means so much to me to know that you are getting value out of what I'm sharing, and you are sending me some great topic ideas. So just know that I have some really, really amazing topics and episodes coming to you in the future. Right now, I am just coming off of the Rachel Hollis Rise conference. I got the opportunity to go to the conference. I had a friend who had bought a ticket and couldn't go. And so the last minute, she let me have her ticket. And it was incredible. If you are running a business or you are even have a hobby that you just really love, I highly recommend that you find some kind of conference or workshop or event to go to where you can be surrounded by other people who do the same things, who have the same mindset, who love the same things that you love, because it fills your cup, and it fills it to the point that it's overflowing. And in some cases, it can completely change your business and it can change your entire life. I am a big believer in education, and I constantly am looking for new ways to learn something new, to learn a different skill, or how to apply things into my business or my personal life. I love self-improvement. I love anything that involves becoming the best version of yourself. And this weekend did just that for me. It was information that I had heard before because I follow Rachel Hollis. I listened to her Rise podcast. I read her books. And so a lot of the things that she had to say were really good pieces of information to remind me of things that I'd heard before. But when you're in that setting and you are surrounded by hundreds and thousands of other women who are just as passionate and as excited and pumped up as you are, it does something to you, and you come back a different person. So going forward, I have got some incredible ideas. I was furiously writing down notes and ideas that came to me at the conference as I was thinking of things that I wanted to share with you guys. So just know that I have a plethora of information that I cannot wait to get into your earbuds and let you know about. Okay, so I want to start today's episode with a little story. It's about what my life was like when I first moved from my hometown and went to college. So when I was 18, I moved out of my small hometown of Waco, Texas, that, yes, everybody knows for Chip and Joanna Gaines. When I was living there, it was not the coolest place in the world to be. It was a small town, and you pretty much knew everything there was to know about Waco. Like, you knew how to get just about anywhere. Even though I'd only been driving for a few short years, I knew every road. I could get anywhere I wanted to. And then I graduated high school and I moved to Dallas, this huge city where I knew nothing. And keep in mind, this was back before GPS, and apps like Waze were around to tell me how to get somewhere while avoiding traffic jams, construction, road closures, all those things that can keep you from getting where you're trying to go. And I remember my college roommate and I getting in the car on weekends and basically just blindly heading in the direction we thought was the right way to get wherever we were trying to go. We made wrong turns. We found dead ends. We got lost so many times, more times than I could probably count. But most of the time, the journey to get there was way more fun than the destination. I couldn't tell you where we were going most of the time, like looking back, but I have some of the best memories of those drives. We would just turn on the radio, we would blare the music and sing along, we would laugh at our wrong turns, and we just had fun. We enjoyed the ride. And I think about that now, when we get in the car to go somewhere and my daughter is constantly asking, well, where are we going next? Well, what are we doing? And after we go here, where are we going to go? And after we go there, what are we going to do? And it drives me nuts because I just keep saying to her, just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the journey, because we're sitting here in the car. There's nowhere you can go. And if we make a wrong turn, we make a wrong turn. We'll figure it out. And of course, now we have GPS, so it doesn't matter. But there's looking back at those college years, I remember thinking those were some of the best times because we would literally just get in the car and go. And we knew the general direction we were headed in, but we didn't know the specifics. And I think when you can compare that to running in a business, it's a lot like those drives. You know the destination you have in mind, whether it's a certain level of success, it's a step you want to get to in your business, it's a level you're trying to achieve. But how you're going to get there isn't always so clearly mapped out. There's no business GPS, although if there was, I would invest in that right away. But you just have to start driving. You just have to take that first step to get to that end result. And more likely than not, you're going to run into a few dead ends. You're going to have some detours, occasional roadblocks. And a lot of business owners will let these roadblocks stop them from reaching their destination. I think back to those drives and I think, okay, if we were trying to get somewhere and all we were doing was getting frustrated. Okay, well, I've got to turn around, or this is a dead end, or we can't go that way because there's a traffic jam, and we can't go this way because there's a roadblock. And if we allowed those to always cause us to turn around and go back home, we would never have reached our destination. And in business, it's the same way, because every time you come up on one of these roadblocks, you have a choice. You can find a way around it, or you can turn around and go back to where it's safe and give up, or turn around and go back to somewhere that's keeping you at a lower level of your business than what you're willing or what you want to achieve. So just the fact that you're taking the time to listen to this podcast, and probably others as well, means that you are determined to make this dream work. And that lets me know that you want to work through these roadblocks. So today I want to talk about some of the things that might get in your way on your journey to success, and how you can overcome them, make them part of your story, and use them to make you stronger, not weaker. A lot of us went into business because we love what we do. It's a passion of ours. Maybe it was a hobby you turned into a business, or something that you're really good at. And it's in the beginning, you think, okay, I love taking pictures. I'm going to make a job out of this. I'm going to make a career out of this. And my whole life is going to be taking beautiful photos and getting paid for it. But there's so much more to it than that. And you have to really be driven, and you have to really want that dream so badly that you're willing to go around these roadblocks. And so my goal today is that I want you to walk away from this episode feeling encouraged, feeling confident, and capable of tackling anything that comes your way. Because some of the things we're going to talk about today are not easy roadblocks. It's not something as simple as, well, my camera broke, I got to figure out what to do. That's an easy fix. It's not something as simple as, well, the studio I wanted fell through, so now I've got to find a new storefront for my boutique. Or my website's been down for 2 days and nobody's been able to place orders. Those are easy to fix roadblocks. We're going to talk about some pretty big, major stuff that are things that are going to want to make you turn around and go back. And you have to be willing to push through them. So I want you to walk away today ready to take on these things as they come to you, whether they're happening now or they're going to happen in the future. And I want you to be prepared. So that's my goal for today, is I want you to leave prepared to take on any of these roadblocks that might come your way. Okay, so let's start with roadblock number 1. So the first roadblock we're going to talk about is a big one. And it's one that I decided to put first because if you don't listen to any other part of this episode, I want you to hear this. Roadblock number 1 is your mindset. What story are you telling yourself about your life and your business and what you are capable of achieving? This is the biggest thing. This is a big topic because we are our biggest roadblocks to our own success. And you've probably heard this before. You've probably heard people say this, and you probably thought, oh, well, I'm not standing in my way. Why would I stand in my own way? That sounds ridiculous. I thought the same thing. I had heard so many people talk about limiting beliefs and being afraid of success and getting in their own way and mindset and how their mindset wasn't in the right space. And I was like, well, that's just dumb. Like, why would you think that way about yourself? But then I started really doing some work on my own mindset and realized that I had all of those limiting beliefs that I heard people talk about. I was standing in my own way. So before you can get through anything else in your business, you have to get through your own mindset and your own limiting beliefs. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. So I want to talk about what those limiting beliefs are and how you feel about your own success. So one of the quotes I love, it says, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And it's so true. It's a simple one-line quote, but it's so incredibly powerful, because whether you believe that you can achieve something or that you can't achieve something, either way, you're right, because that's what's going to happen. It's like visualizing your path. If you are trying to visualize your path to the top of the mountain, but all you can see is that halfway point and you don't fully believe you can make it to the top, then you're never going to make it to the top. I've done this a million times when it comes to working out. I, at one point years ago, trained for a half marathon. And I look back on that training, I think there were days I was running 7, 10, 12 mile runs on the weekends, and I was doing 4 to 6 miles every single day almost. And I had zero limiting beliefs in the fact that I could do it, because I just kept pushing forward and I knew I was capable of it. I just had to get there. And then I went through life and I got married and I had babies and got lazy and put on weight. And now that I'm trying to get back in shape and I'm trying to run again, there's a part of me that's like, oh, you can never do that. You can't run 6 miles every day. You can't run 12 miles on a weekend. You can't do a half marathon. Like, there's no way. And so that limiting belief is keeping me, it's holding me back from ever achieving that goal, because I've already told myself I can't do it. And even though we don't always recognize or realize when that's happening, I guarantee you have some sort of limiting belief. You have some voice in your head that's telling you you can't do something, and it's manifesting as fear a lot of times, but it's telling you you can't do something, which means you're never going to do it until you change that voice in your head. Our mindset is such a powerful thing when it comes to what we're capable of accomplishing. It's something that, again, I'd heard other people talk about, but I never really understood until I really started diving into my own ideas and beliefs around success. It turns out for the longest time, I felt like I wasn't deserving of a high level of success, because I felt like that was something that was reserved for these special select few, for people who came from wealth and success, or people who were that type A personality that loves to get up at 5 a.m. and everything is color-coded and spreadsheets and all of those things that I'm just not. And I believed that being a mom meant my business couldn't go very far, that I'd waited too long to start a business, that I had to wait until my kids were grown to really have the level of success that I was dreaming of, or that I wasn't smart enough or knowledgeable enough to do the things I wanted to do. And these were thoughts that would creep into my mind anytime I allowed myself to dream big. And it caused me to stay in one place longer than I should have. It's taken me a lot of time and a lot of work to change those beliefs. And I'm still working on them in some areas. It's about training yourself to think differently about what you're capable of and what you deserve and what you can achieve. If you look at a lot of the highly successful women out there in your industry or other industries, they all have something in common. They have put in a lot of work to really understand the narrative they've written for themselves. They've put in the work to identify their limiting beliefs, and then they've worked even harder to eliminate those beliefs or change them. So if you're listening to this right now and there's a voice inside your head that's telling you something, or there's a fear you have in regards to your business, because fear is just that limiting belief pushing back at you, listen to it. ask it to speak louder so you can understand it and get to know it. A lot of times we just push that voice away. We push it back to the back of our minds, but it's still there whispering in our ear and we're not paying attention to it. Ask yourself why you believe that, why you think the way that you do, and why you're letting it hold you back. Once you face that thing head on, it doesn't seem so scary anymore, and it's a whole lot easier to get rid of it. For me, the biggest limiting belief I had was around being a mom and a highly successful business owner. I didn't think you could do both and do them both well, and so I held myself back. I kept myself from expanding and growing my business and chasing these dreams that I had. I allowed that inner narrative to drive the car for me, and it was making this giant U-turn and going right back to where it felt safe. And it took a lot of me listening to other women's stories. It took a lot of me asking for help from people. And it was not feeling ashamed, not feeling guilty, all these things I was really trying to do to put in the work, and sitting down and really hashing out the pros and cons of what life would look like for me if I really just went all in and went for it. It took work. But in the end, I was able to see that I'm not choosing between one or the other. I can have both. I can run a successful business, I can be a great mom, and I can be an example to my girls of what it means to be a really successful woman chasing after a dream and a passion that I have. One of my favorite authors is Elizabeth Gilbert, and I got to hear her speak several years ago on fear, which, as I said before, is just your limiting beliefs manifesting themselves in a different way. And she said this quote, she said, "Fear, I see you and I respect you. You're part of this family, so I will never exclude you from our activities. But still, your suggestions will never be followed. You are allowed to have a seat, but you will never have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps or suggest detours. You're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature, and you're not allowed to even touch the radio. But above all else, you are absolutely forbidden to drive." I love this quote so much because I think a lot of us allow fear to drive more often than we should. It's easier that way, right? It's easier to let fear take over, and we can sit back and just let it do its thing. But fear is never going to lead you in the direction you really want to go. If you want to build a successful business, if you want to chase that crazy dream that you have, if you want to be successful, you have to get out of your own way. You have to stop letting fear and limiting beliefs and your mindset control you. You have to be in charge. That's the ultimate final peg. You have to be in control. If you are letting someone or something else be in control of your destination and your destiny, then you're not going to get where you want to go. So if you are having those limiting beliefs and that fear is constantly whispering in your ear, then you need to stop right now. You need to hit pause, and you need to put in the work to really figure out how to get back in that driver's seat. It's not easy. It takes time. It's an ongoing process. Just like the reference I used earlier with working out, you can't expect to go to the gym one time and then go home and be fit and thin and healthy. It's a continuous process. Just like going to therapy is not a one-time thing. You have to continue putting in the work. So when it comes to mindset, when it comes to figuring out your personal roadblocks within yourself, you have to continuously do the work. Have self-check-ins. Every once in a while, take the time to really sit down and go, okay, how am I feeling? How am I doing? Am I okay? Do I have something that is holding me back in my own mind? Am I allowing these thoughts and fears to take over the driver's seat? I need to get back in control. And so do the work, do those processes, take time to get yourself in the right place. And then all these other things we're going to talk about today will be so much easier, I promise. So I know that that's a really heavy one to start off with, but I wanted to make sure that you're in the right headspace before you move any further in your business, before you can face these other roadblocks we're going to talk about. You have to be in a good place in your own head so that you feel confident and strong moving forward with the other things that might stand in your way. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to number 2, which is also another big one. but it's dealing with someone that you love. And this is going to look different for everyone. For most people, it's going to be somebody in your life that you love and respect and that you want love and respect from, but they're holding you back in some way. This might be a spouse, a significant other, a best friend, mother-in-law, sister, coworker, a friend from high school. No matter who it is, there are going to be people in your life that don't fully support or understand your business for various reasons, which means that you now have to make a choice. You can either stay inside the box they've created for you, because that's what's happened. They have created a box they think that you fit in. And whether that is about your personality or about what you are capable of because of X, Y, and Z, they have boxed you into this idea in their head, and you can't live your life inside of their box. You have to create your own box. You have to create your own version of what you're capable of doing. And so a lot of times the people that you love aren't going to fully understand your drive and your passion, your dreams. They're not going to understand why you get up early or stay up late to answer emails, why you attend that monthly networking mixer downtown, or why you need a babysitter one more day this week so that you can get stuff done. They're not going to get it because it's not their dream. It's not their passion. It's not what the goal they're trying to achieve. And you can't expect somebody else to care about your business as much as you do. And so a lot of times that causes conflict. It causes rifts. It causes problems in a relationship because they see something differently than you see it, or they don't see what you see in yourself. And that can be frustrating. Maybe they think this is just a passing phase or something that you're doing for fun. Maybe they hate that it's taking time away from the time you would normally be spending with them. Or maybe they have their own limiting beliefs around what's possible. This is especially true for women. I know for me, there are women in my life who don't understand a woman wanting to run their own business or have these big audacious dreams or go for something that doesn't make sense because it's not safe. A lot of times people live in this zone of safety and they don't like it. They don't understand it when somebody wants to step outside of that safety net. And if you're starting a business or you're running a business that's not a traditional 9 to 5 where you work for somebody else or you go clock in and clock out and you get a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, it's uncomfortable for some people and they don't understand it. And so either way, your success is making them uncomfortable, and you have to decide if you're willing to stop what you're doing to make somebody else more comfortable or not. And for me, it was hearing that out loud that made it click. I was like, oh, wait, I'm going to change my dream. I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to change something big because I don't want to make somebody else uncomfortable. Like, that doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right. Like, they don't get to decide what I'm capable of. They don't get to decide what I can achieve. They don't get to decide what I put into this business and this dream that I have. And so that's the moment for me when I was like, oh my gosh, I have been bringing myself down to a level that I'm not happy with just to make somebody else less uncomfortable. It just seemed crazy. It seemed insane that I would be willing to give that up so that somebody else would be okay with my level of success. And I think we do that a lot, especially as women. We are such people pleasers and we want to make everybody feel happy and loved and taken care of and comfortable and not ruffle feathers and not stir the pot. But if this is your dream, then nobody else should get to tell you that it's not okay for you to chase that dream. They need to change what they're comfortable with, or they need to get out of the way. That's the approach I have now. Now, it hasn't always been that way, and just know that when I'm saying these things to you, this has taken a lot for me to get to this point. This isn't something that I started my business and I was like, get out of my way. I don't care what you think. I'm going to keep going. For years, I have held myself back because I didn't want to make somebody else unhappy. I didn't want to make somebody else uncomfortable. There were situations where I would not talk about my business at times to people because I felt like it would be uncomfortable or awkward. When I was teaching full time, there were so many conversations I didn't have with people because I was like, oh, this is awkward. I'm working full time here, but I have this other job I'm really excited about and passionate about. I don't want to cross lines. I don't want to make things uncomfortable or awkward. So I'm just going to hold back. And I look back and I think, man, just how much further along could I be right now if I hadn't allowed somebody else's discomfort to get in my way? If I hadn't allowed somebody else's non-understanding to get in my way. And so when you think of it that way, it makes it sound so crazy that that's ever something we allow to hold us back, but we do. For me, there have been so many times when I've adjusted my schedule or changed how I do things in order to make someone in my family more comfortable. And I'm really excited for next week's episode because you're going to get to hear me talk to my husband about the challenges we have faced together as a couple as I have started this journey of creating a business and building a business and quitting my full-time job. And we're going to talk about all the things, the times that I have held back because I didn't want to offend him or upset him or make him uncomfortable. And I just think that truly successful women aren't concerned about other people's comfort. And for me, it came down to having difficult conversations with my husband and with my friends and with my family about my dreams and my vision for my business. And I had to show them what I was capable of. I had to prove what I could do and what I was able to do. And that started opening their eyes. It started them seeing, okay, this isn't just a passing phase. This is something she's truly passionate about. This is something that she can accomplish. And now when I come to them with these crazy ideas, like starting a podcast, instead of resistance, I get, okay, that's awesome. How can I help? What do you need me to do? But getting to that point took an open line of communication that still goes on today. It took me asking for help. It took me opening up and being vulnerable and saying, look, this is something that I really want. And it's not something I'm giving up on. It's not something that I'm just going to do for a short time and then get tired of and move on. Like, this is what my future looks like. I want you to be part of it. I want you to come along on this ride with me. And starting that conversation isn't always easy, but it's so important. So if you have somebody in your life that is holding you back or that you're nervous about because you aren't sure how they are going to perceive your business or your passion or your drive, you've got to have that conversation. You've got to start that conversation. It's not a one-time thing either, just like with the mindset. It's an ongoing process. You have to continually carry on that conversation and have those check-in points where like, okay, are we good? Like, do you need something else from me? Do I need to ask you for help with something? How can we make this work? And now there are other people in my life whose opinions have mattered, but having that conversation I knew wasn't going to help. And so for those relationships, I had to prove myself first. I had to show them results before they were going to really get it. I had to show them, look, this is my future. This is the path I'm on. This is not a passing phase. Look what I've built so far. Look at the success that I've had. Look at the money that I've made. Look at the fact that I can sustain this full time. And they needed that evidence first. It was not so much a conversation as it was, show me the proof is in the pudding. Show me the money, And then there were some people that I just had to limit how much time I spent with them. And that's not always easy, but if it was affecting my ability to move forward, I realized that I could no longer make myself smaller to avoid making them uncomfortable. I had to break free of that. And for some people, that just meant I couldn't talk about my business. I could still go and enjoy my time with them. I just couldn't talk about business. Or I had to limit my time with them altogether. I had to start saying no to spending a ton of time with them. And that's not always easy, but this is your life. You only get one life to live. And you have to decide, are those people more important than your dreams? That's a difficult question to ask yourself, but you really have to. If there's somebody that is truly standing in your way, that is making you feel less than, that is making you feel like you're not capable of this, it's making you question or doubt your abilities, you have to have an honest conversation with yourself about, is this somebody you really want in your corner for this passion, this dream that you're chasing? And I don't know who your someone is, but I want you to be the best version of you. And so sit down and really figure it out. Like, for me, it's writing. I keep a notebook with me all the time. And to get things out of my head, I have to write them down. And so when I was going through all of these roadblocks and I was trying to figure all this out, I had to physically write down the person's name and what it was that I felt like was the problem. I had to write down what I thought I could do to fix it, whether it was a conversation, whether it was I have to prove myself to them, or I have to limit my time with them, or I have to cut them out. And going through that list really helped me figure out and just get everything out of my head and onto paper of like, okay, this person is worth having a conversation with. This person is worth, I need to show them what I can do. This person is someone that I love and I care about and I still want to spend time with. We just can't talk about these certain topics, and that's okay. And this is somebody that, maybe I just need to remove myself from them. Maybe I need to kind of slowly back off and cut ties. And it doesn't have to be in a mean or hateful way. It just becomes one of those things that in life you go through relationships, and sometimes relationships fizzle out, and sometimes they're there for a specific reason and they aren't needed anymore. So it's all a matter of you figuring it out and figuring out what's the best way to approach each relationship so that you can move forward in your business. Hey guys, let's take a quick break from this heavy conversation that we're having and talk about one of my favorite sponsors, QuickBooks. Today was sales tax day. It's one of the days of the year that I don't love the most. It was time to pony up the money and pay off my sales tax for the quarter. And back before I was using QuickBooks, this would be such a tedious process because I would have to go through all of my receipts and all of my invoices and figure everything out. But with QuickBooks, it's so easy. They remind me when sales tax is due, and all I have to do is log in, pull up my reports, and submit my information. So simple. I cannot tell you how much QuickBooks has changed my business in the fact that it has made my life so much easier. One of my favorite parts of QuickBooks is the app. I download it on my phone. It gives me quick and easy access to my invoices, my sales, and my favorite part is it tracks my mileage for me. Guys, I am terrible when it comes to tracking my mileage. Before I used QuickBooks, it was something that I would sit down every couple of months and go, okay, where have I been? Where have I gone that was work related? And I would forget these little deductions that I could take as far as like coffee breaks with a client or driving out into the middle of nowhere to a winery for a magazine reveal party that I'm part of. Those are all business related mileage that I would not have normally tracked. But because the app on my phone tracks it for me, all I have to do is sit down once a week and go through and mark each mileage as personal or business. And it's as simple, guys, as swiping left and swiping right. It's so easy and I love it. I have already been able to save money and deduct so much more mileage from my business because I have the app. If you want to try QuickBooks for yourself, if you're not already using it, by the way, you've got to get it. It's so easy. It makes your life so much easier and it's not that big of an expense. I use QuickBooks Self-Employed and it is $10 a month. And with their exclusive Girl Means Business code, you can save half off your first 6 months. That's $5 a month, guys. If you want to go full on QuickBooks for business, not the self-employed version, it's only $20 a month and it's $10 for the first 6 months. So use the code bit.ly/GMB QuickBooks. That's bit.ly/GMB QuickBooks. Or you can go to today's show notes at girlmeansbusiness.com/episode 17, and the link is right there for you. It'll get you half off your first 6 months with QuickBooks or QuickBooks Self-Employed. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. All right, we have covered 2 of our 4 topics for today. We've talked about mindset and then how to handle someone who is standing in your way of moving forward. So now we're going to talk about number 3, which is the opinions of others. This is a difficult one. I'm not going to lie. I have fallen victim to this roadblock more times than I can count, and it's probably the one that I still struggle with the most. Between family, friends, and social media, that social media, we are consuming so many outside thoughts, ideas, and opinions about everything. So it can be really easy to let all the noise get to you. There have been several times where I've thought twice about what I was going to post online or put in a blog post because I was worried about what my friends or a coworker or a family member might think. And I've allowed myself to create a whole narrative around what other people are saying about me when in reality, it could not be further from the truth. So I want to talk today about 2 different kinds of opinions because in the world of social media, it's way too easy for us to be privy to what other people have to say, whether it's through comments in our feed or on our post or other people's posts they're putting out there that are those passive aggressive ways for them to get their opinions out there. We can take things really personally and things can be misconstrued because they're written in text and not said with inflection and expression. And so it's really easy to misunderstand something that someone says in a comment. So I want to talk about the 2 kinds of opinions, ones that are real and ones that we create in our mind. So I want to talk first about the latter one, the ones we create in our mind. So I want you to think about the last time you posted something to social media that you were unsure of or that you were hesitant to put out into the world. I want you to ask yourself the question, what were you afraid of? And I'll give you an example. About a year and a half ago, I had boudoir photos done for myself. It was something that I shoot boudoir a lot, and I felt like I needed to walk the walk. If I'm telling these other women that you can do a boudoir session no matter your age, your size, whatever, I needed to prove that I could as well. So I had a session done and I loved my photos. And there's several that I have shared on social media that are not so super risque, but they're still revealing. I mean, it's an intimate thing and you're putting it out there for the world to see. And there was these moments of hesitation where I was like, okay, what is this person going to think? And what is that person going to say? And oh my gosh, these people are going to think that I'm just terrible. And I allowed this narrative that I made up in my mind to almost keep me from putting something out there that was going to help other women. The post where I've shared these photos and my story behind the session and my story behind what those photos have done for me, I get constantly DMs and messages from women who are like, oh my gosh, I read your story here, or I went and read your blog post and it made me realize why I was holding back, or thank you so much for sharing that. And had I not shared those photos and had I let that narrative I was creating in my mind stop me, I wouldn't have been able to help those women that were benefiting from that post. So if you're like me, you've probably had 5 or 6 different opinions that you thought people might have about whatever you're about to post. Oh, my Aunt Susie's going to criticize me for posting that photo of myself in a swimsuit on Facebook. Or my friends are so tired of seeing me post about my business again. Or Pam from the PTA is going to think I'm a terrible mom because the photo of my kids at the park with their babysitter while I was with a client is going to mean that I'm not a good parent. The thing is, guys, the thoughts you're thinking in your head, all of those opinions that you are creating, they're not even real. They're a made up version of what you think people are going to say. You're creating a false narrative based on fear. And as we learned earlier in the episode, nothing good happens when you let fear control everything. So stop creating this narrative in your head and stop letting it control what you do, because it's made up. It's not real, guys. It's like when my kid is afraid of the dark because they think that there's something hiding in their room. There's nothing hiding. They're making up a story in their head about something scary when you flip on the lights and there's nothing there. And so we're creating these opinions in our mind that aren't even there, and we're letting it control what we do. The second kind of opinion is the kind that someone actually says to your face. And how much power these opinions have is based on a couple of factors. The first one is, who is the person that's saying it and how important are they to you? If it's someone whose opinion really means a lot, then you can take it into consideration and figure out how much weight you're willing to give it. They're not living your life for you. They're not chasing your dreams. You are. So you have the ultimate deciding power on what you allow to change your course. If the opinion is coming from a complete stranger on the internet, please don't even give it a second thought. You don't know that person. And if you need a little help letting it go, just turn on some Taylor Swift to help you calm down and shake it off. And if it wasn't for the fact I couldn't play those songs on here, I would totally do that for you right now. But I'm not going to pay to license that music. Sorry. So the next thing I want you to look at is, how was it said? Is it coming from a place of love, or is it coming from jealousy, frustration, and anger? If it's coming from a place of love and they truly honestly are worried, or they truly honestly are looking out for your best interest, then give it a little bit of thought. Consider their opinions, but again, you ultimately decide what you're willing to allow affect you. And if it's coming out of a place of frustration, anger, or jealousy, then please don't let that affect you. That is on them, not on you. That is their manifestation of whatever they're dealing with coming out at you. And so you've got to let that part go. You've got to be able to know that that opinion is not something that you need to allow to affect you. Letting go of other people's opinions of you, whether they're real or made up in your head, can be hard. And I get it. It's so hard to get around it. I still struggle with this. But getting to the point where you can recognize the difference between what you've manifested or what you've created in your own head versus what somebody's actually said to you, and then choosing when to let it have power over you, it will clear up your mind for getting the work done that needs to get done in order for you to move your business forward. Those opinions, those thoughts, those things that are coming at you, they're just cluttering up your mind, and they're like these pylons just piled up in front of you on the road. And once you can clean them out of the way, once you can sweep them to the side, the path is going to be clear, and you'll be able to focus on the steps you need to take to move you forward. All right, guys, we're moving forward. Number 4, I know this episode's getting long, and I'm sorry, but there's so much to say, and I want to get through this. So just bear with me a little bit longer. Number 4 is your calendar. What is on your schedule every single day, every week, every month? What are you allowing to take up your time? As a parent, this one is extra difficult for me because I'm not always in control of my own calendar between school events and sports and dentist appointments and doctor's appointments, birthday parties, play dates. It feels like I'm constantly running from one thing to another and just trying to squeeze in any free moment of work that I can. In fact, as I'm recording this right now, I've pretty much been interrupted about 10 times from my kids because I'm doing this in my bedroom while they're playing in the playroom. And it's just finding those little times to keep them entertained so that I can get stuff done. But it can feel really overwhelming at times. And I used to think that all those amazing, successful women must have these offices they go to and assistants that are running their schedule for them. And some of them do, but not all of them. And they didn't all have that in the beginning. And so I've found that it's about choosing the things to say yes to and when and how to say no to things. I am a people pleaser. We talked about this earlier in the episode. I want everyone to be happy. And so for me, saying no is really hard. But let me tell you guys, the more you do it, the easier it gets, and it feels so good. It feels so good to say no to something that you really don't want to do in the first place. I guarantee you, I know some people are probably thinking right now, oh, I've got that thing on my calendar. I've got that one event or that one activity that I just don't want to go to, and you're dreading it and you are not looking forward to it, and it's like sucking the life out of you. And that's no fun. And so if you can look at your calendar and you can go, everything on here is something I want to do and I'm excited and looking forward to, that's a great feeling. And it's all about learning what to say yes to and what to say no to. So if you find that your calendar is so full that you can't imagine adding one more thing to it, or you're struggling to find time to get work done and emails answered and things done, then consider doing the following things. So let's go through a couple things you can do. One, delegate. Can you delegate something to somebody else? Can your husband take your kids to soccer practice or the doctor's appointment or that birthday party instead of you? Try splitting up the responsibilities so that you can divide and conquer instead of struggling on your own. If you don't have a spouse or they aren't always available to help, then ask your village, guys. It takes a village. I get it. It so does. And this could be family members, friends, or a babysitter. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as you have someone you can turn to for help. And I know that asking for help isn't easy, but you've got to be okay with asking for help if you're going to get this done and make it work. I know that there are people out there, and I have these people in my lives, they're not comfortable leaving their kids with someone who isn't family or friends, and they can't afford a babysitter, and that's fine. But you've got to figure out what works for you. I cannot tell you how many times I've relied on my village to make it all run smoothly. Luckily, my oldest daughter's in school, and she's made friends with other kids her age in the community. And so I've got those moms around me, and a lot of them are working moms, or they have their own businesses. They get it. And so we are able to rely on each other and say, hey, can you pick my kid up? Or can you take my kid to this practice? Or, hey, can she come over to your house for an hour and play while I do this thing or get this work done? And so don't be afraid to ask your village for help. All right, number 2 is to make sure your yeses are worth it. I used to say yes to pretty much everything that came my way: networking events, lunch with friends, girls' nights, date nights, shopping trips with my mom, work events. The list goes on and on. But after a while, I got so burned out that I didn't want to go to anything anymore. And it would get to the point where I was like, for a week, I would just say I'm not doing anything because I'm just so done going to things that don't make me happy. I was throwing my yeses around like I had an endless supply, and that's not how they work. Your energy and your time, it's precious, it's valuable. It's not an endless supply. And so you need to start weighing your yeses so that you can be more selective in how you spend your time. So, for example, just the other day, I had a friend invite me out to dinner, and it was someone that I hadn't seen in a really long time. And I felt bad saying no because I knew we hadn't seen each other in a long time and I knew we needed to connect, but I really wanted a date night with my husband. And it was the one night that week that we were going to have a night to ourselves because the kids were with grandma. And so I had to decide what was going to be more important to me. And so I had to choose my yes carefully. And while I wanted to see that friend, I just told her, I said, look, this is the only night that my husband and I have to go on a date night. Can we please schedule for another night? And there have been events or lunch dates and coffee dates with people that I've had to say, I can't, no, I'm sorry. And you can do it in a really nice way. It doesn't have to be mean, doesn't have to be hateful. But choosing your yeses carefully and guarding your time makes a huge difference. So Jen Hatmaker has a great saying that I love. She says, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And I love that. Like, I just think that's such a good way to look at things. And how great would it be to look at your calendar for the month and have every item on there be a hell yes, be something that you are so excited about and so looking forward to doing. This is going to date me a little bit, but going back to an old episode of Oprah that I watched years and years and years ago, and she was talking about clothes and shopping, and that something that stuck with me for this whole time was that she said when she goes shopping, she only buys the things that she absolutely loves. When she tries something on, if she doesn't go, yes, I love this, I feel good in it, it looks great on me, this is a definite yes, then she puts it back. And that way, when she goes into her closet each morning, she knows that it's full of clothes that she loves. Everything in her closet is something that she loves and feels good in. And so I think you need to treat your calendar like Oprah's closet. You need to treat the things that you say yes to as if that's the only thing you're allowed to say yes to, because every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. So make sure those yeses are hell yeses. And then that brings me to the last one, which is saying no and not feeling guilty about it. So saying no is hard at first, especially if you and everyone around you are used to you saying yes. But saying no to something you don't really want to do frees you up to work on something that's more important to you. It gives you time to do the things that you may be complaining that you don't have time to do right now. And so it's saying no doesn't mean you have to be rude or mean or hateful. You can just politely decline the offer and then, depending on the circumstance, decide if an explanation is needed or not. So, for example, with my friend that invited me to dinner, I just politely said, look, I want to see you. I really do. I want to have dinner, and I promise we'll do it soon. But this is the only night my husband and I have to go to dinner and talk and have a date night. So can we please do it another time? Or if you explain to somebody, look, I'm so overcommitted right now. I'm stretched too thin. I've got to get these things done. They'll understand, because every single human understand the feeling of overwhelm. They felt it. They know what it's like to be stretched too thin. They know what it feels like to be overcommitted. And so just being honest and saying, look, right now I have too many things on my plate. I need to take a break. And then I promise we'll do this at some other point. They'll understand your no. And if they don't, then maybe that's more evidence that you made the right choice in the first place, because they don't support you and your choices. And if it's something like an event or a meeting or something you are going to out of obligation, just saying, no, I can't, I'm not able to make it, is plenty. Like, you don't need to explain. You don't need to have an excuse. Just say, sorry, I can't, I'm not able to make that at this time. It's not the end of the world, I promise. And I promise the more you say no, the easier it gets, and the more selective you can get, the better you're going to feel. And so just think about that calendar. Think about the fact that you want to be able to look at your calendar at the end of every month and go, oh, that looks good. Like, I'm excited for what's coming up next. Like, I can't wait for that lunch date with that friend. I can't wait for that networking event, because it's the only one I'm going to this month and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that date night with my husband. I can't wait to go to that party with my kids. You want that to be your calendar. And so if your calendar doesn't excite you, if your schedule doesn't excite you, start making sure that your yeses and your nos are chosen very carefully. Okay, take a deep breath. You've got it. You made it through. There were 4 major roadblocks that we talked about today, and they're big. They're heavy. They are huge things that take time and take work and take practice. And so I want you to come back to this episode whenever you need to and re-listen to the different parts of it. And when you're going through specific struggles, whether it's with your mindset, with dealing with other people in your life, or opinions that other people have, or just trying to figure out your schedule and your calendar, come back and listen to those different sections and just think about the things we talked about today. Again, I know it was a lot to take in. This is a long episode. We're coming up on almost an hour, and so it's a lot to take in. But again, take a deep breath, take it bit by bit, piece by piece. And I hope that you are leaving this time together feeling like you're not alone, because we've all gone through these things. I guarantee you every single person listening to this is going, yes, I'm in one of those places or multiple places at one time, and you're not alone. We're all here going through it together. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of guidance and help to take control of your own journey, take control of your own path, and get in that driver's seat, because this is your dream, and nobody's going to be as passionate and as excited and care about your dream as much as you do. So you need to be in charge and you need to be in control. All right, ladies, we are not going to go into listener lounge question this week. I don't want to take up more of your time. We're already almost at an hour point with this episode. So we will pick up next week with listener lounge. And don't forget to tune in next week because it's going to be a really fun episode as I interview my husband, Mr. Swalls, with all the questions that you have asked me about what it's like to get support from your husband and what our journey has been like from going from both of us working full time to me running this business. So if you have not already subscribed, go into whatever platform you're listening to this on, hit that subscribe button so that you will get notified every time an episode goes live, and definitely next week's episode because you're going to want to tune into that one for sure. And then also, if you don't mind, as if I haven't asked you for enough already with this episode, if you will go into iTunes and leave me a quick review, even if it's just to hit those stars, or leave a comment and let me know how much this show means to you, what it's helping you with, what topics you want to hear about. I want to make sure this is catered to you and the needs that you have. So the best way to do that is to go into those reviews and let me know what you think about the episodes and what you want to hear from me next, so I can make sure I get it on the calendar for you. All right, ladies, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for sharing part of your week with me and for spending this time with me. I can't wait to see you back here next week, same time, same place. Enjoy your week. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to click the subscribe button so you never miss when a new episode goes live. Then head over to iTunes and leave a quick review to let other people know just how much you loved it. Thanks, ladies. See you next week.